The morning air in Georgia was crisp, carrying a mist that clung to the trees like an unfinished thought. In the middle of that quiet stood a young man, Andy Stanley. His eyes carried both a dream and a question: can the church still be a place where broken lives find answers? Andy had grown up the son of a pastor. His childhood was shaped by long hours in pews, rigid sermons, and the weight of tradition. Yet deep in his heart burned a vision, a church not of rules and rituals, but of hope, a place where faith wasn't just spoken but lived. The first turning point: leaving home. In the mid-1990s, Andy made a decision that shocked many. He left his father's large and respected congregation. In the South, leaving a church was like leaving family, leaving identity. But Andy was restless. He felt God pulling him towards something new. Gathering a handful of friends and volunteers, he rented a small space in North Atlanta. The chairs were rickety, the sound system weak, and only a few came that first Sunday. But Andy's words carried fire: we will build a church for people who don't like church. A place where faith makes sense, where no one is a stranger. Struggle and opposition. At first, the group was small, almost invisible. Money was short. Critics were loud. Established pastors scoffed: this kid is turning worship into show business. Lights, music, jokes, he's watering down the gospel. But Andy pressed on. His conviction was simple: if the message is true, the method can be new. And thus began the story of North Point Community Church. The second turning point: unexpected growth. Something unexpected began to happen. Within months, hundreds filled the small rented hall. Then thousands. Families who had long abandoned church, young adults who had only known skepticism, they all came. Why? Because Andy's sermons weren't abstract theology. They were stories of marriage, addiction, friendship, and second chances. His words cut through shame and landed straight in the heart. Soon the rented halls were too small. North Point purchased land in Alpharetta, Georgia. A massive, glass-walled church rose, modern, bright, unlike anything people in the Bible Belt had ever seen. It wasn't just a building. It was a signal: the old ways were giving way to something new. Real lives changed. But North Point's true history isn't written in steel and concrete. It's written in lives. Maria, an immigrant mother from Mexico, abandoned by her husband and left to raise 3 kids, wandered into North Point one Sunday, looking only for a moment of peace. I thought I'd sit in the back and cry, she later said. But instead, I found a family. Daniel, a former convict who had spent years in prison for dealing drugs, came on a dare. That morning he heard Andy say, God is more interested in your future than your past. Daniel wept. Today he leads outreach programs for men like him. North Point wasn't just growing, it was healing people. The third turning point: crisis. Yet growth brought storms. By the early 2000s, North Point had become one of the largest churches in America. Budgets soared into the millions. Huge screens, concert-level music, and Hollywood-level production became part of Sunday services. Critics grew louder. Is this still a church or an entertainment business? Controversy followed Andy too. His bold takes on sensitive religious and cultural issues landed him in headlines. Protesters showed up at the church's gates. Journalists questioned his motives. Even close friends advised him to step back. Andy, shaken but unbroken, told them, if this is just my vision, it will fail. But if this is God's work, no power can stop it. The rise of a movement. Time proved him right. North Point expanded to 6 campuses in Georgia, and its online presence reached millions worldwide. Families tuned in from Texas to Tokyo. The message spread beyond walls. The church poured millions into community aid, feeding the hungry, supporting foster children, mentoring teens, helping marriages recover. It wasn't just worship, it was service. North Point became a beacon, not just for Alpharetta, but for America. Final twist, a humble admission. One Sunday, an elderly man stood quietly at the entrance. His silver hair caught the morning light as tears streamed down his face. Andy approached him and froze. It was an old rival pastor, one of his earliest critics, the man who once called North Point a circus. With trembling lips, the man whispered, "I was wrong. I thought you were chasing fame. But what I see here is people meeting God in a way I never imagined." Andy's eyes filled with tears. He placed a hand on the man's shoulder and replied softly, "This was never mine. It was always his. We're just the tools in his hands." The legacy. Today, North Point Community Church is not merely a building. It is a story. A story of vision, of struggle, of critics silenced by love. A story of immigrants finding belonging, ex-convicts finding redemption, families finding hope. In the noise and chaos of American life, North Point stands as a reminder: light is born in the darkest places. Andy's voice still echoes through its halls and screens across the world. Church is not just about worship. It's where broken hearts are healed, sins are forgiven, and futures are rewritten.